Own Way, the podcast with me, your host, Kori McClurg. So today I want to talk about a concept called liminal thinking. I didn't invent this concept. This guy named Dave Gray, he wrote a whole book called Liminal Thinking. And he actually has a YouTube video that kind of just describes the whole concept. I'll link it here, the video and the book, because I totally recommend watching it. But Dave uses a metaphor for what liminal thinking is. It's the story of the blind man and the elephant, and the story goes that there's this elephant, right? It's standing in front of these several blind men, and they are each touching different parts of the elephant and making their guesses as to what it is. So like the guy that's touching the trunk of the elephant, well, he thinks it's a snake. And the guy that's like touching the side of the elephant just thinks like it's a big wall. And, it kind of goes on from there. And the whole idea is that, it's all about perspective, right? Like what you think reality is, the reality is there's this giant elephant sitting here, but you don't know that. All you know is the part that you are experiencing that's in front of you. So this metaphor is just kind of a simplified way to talk about what's happening to all of us every day. So instead of us being blind, we have this culmination of things that create this particular perspective that we have. So, we often think that we're standing on the real world, right? We're standing on the real world ground here. We're experiencing reality as it actually is, but we're not, right? We are standing on what Dave calls this pyramid of belief. And this pyramid of belief is made up of your experiences, your beliefs, everything that has happened, every thought that you've had or thoughts that were given to you by influential people in your life. And so instead of standing on the real world down here, you're actually standing up on top of this pyramid that's just full of everything that's happened to you, that you've experienced, that you have filtered. We're not doing this on purpose or out of some, naive compulsion. We're kind of set up for this very naturally. So your brain is processing like so much information, right? I mean, even if you're sitting quietly in a room with nothing else going on, there's all kinds of sensory experiences that are happening for you. The temperature of the room, the light coming into your eye, the whatever you're sitting on or standing on, like your brain is constantly working at processing this information, and it has to filter quickly things that are important and not important. And what's important to your brain is, is there anything that is going to impede our survival, right? What in this environment will propel us forward as a species, as an individual? So you're doing all of this naturally. You're creating this perspective, these liminal thoughts, and you don't even know that you're doing it. So a story I like to give an idea, women might especially might relate to this. Let's say that you, like your mom, that she did not like when women, or, certain women dressed, maybe too revealing or too tight of fitting clothes. And she had kind of a judgment about that. So, and she might not even have told you that she didn't like that. She just kind of, had a look on her face or tensed up or whatever when she saw these people, right? But you, because you're, with her for all these years growing up, and especially in this formative time of your life, you absorb that. So especially at that time in your life, because your brain knows that your mere survival is dependent upon your parents, right? You don't have the capacity to ensure your own survival. So you are very vigilant to knowing what is going on with the adults around you as a kid. You know that just instinctually there's some mechanism in you to try to be in tune with them. So you're absorbing all this information, and now as an adult, maybe you kind of feel weird about like wearing a bathing suit, and you don't really know why, like, but because a bathing suit, right, is more revealing, it's tighter, like you just don't like it. And you're not necessarily like being able to point back to the fact that, oh, this is all about your mom not liking, women that wore tight fitting clothes. That is an example of like a liminal thought where we're not even quite conscious of it. We have to do some work to really bring it to the level of consciousness. I would say a common thing that goes through our minds that would indicate to you that there's some liminal thinking going on is anytime you say to yourself like, oh, I just don't do that thing, or you just automatically say no to something and you didn't really like give it a thought. Like that's because you got some liminal thoughts going on around that. And it might be something totally innocuous, like, and you don't even realize it. Like a neighborhood get together, right? Like one family is going to host a few families at their house or whatever. And you just like immediately say no. And you're just like, oh, well, I don't know. We just don't like do that kind of thing. You don't know why. You're just like, we don't. It just doesn't sound appealing, or there's kind of a turn off to it or something. Like there's some liminal thoughts going on there. How does this whole idea of liminal thinking, how does that get in our way? The problem can be that we're having these liminal thoughts about things and we're not realizing it, or we're not even questioning. Even if we realize that we're having the thoughts, we're not questioning it. We're just assuming that we're standing on in reality, we're standing on the real world, when really we're standing right on that pyramid of belief. So for example, we might have some habits that, we've realized they're kind of become destructive. They're not helping us achieve our goals, particularly related to health. But we don't understand why it's so hard for us to change and for us to give up this behavior. But really, the reason it's so hard is because we've got some of these liminal thoughts that we're not aware of and we're not exploring or questioning even. So, for example, like with alcohol, you might think, right, well, alcohol relaxes me. I need to have a glass of wine at the end of the day to like relax and just separate myself from my work day, and it relaxes me. Those are the kinds of thoughts where, one, we might not have even consciously recognized that we had that thought. We just sometimes get on autopilot and we do the thing because we're we're compelled. But when we realize like, oh, I'm doing this because I think that it relaxes me, now we can start to like ponder that and question, does it really relax me? Are there other things that are happening that don't relax me about alcohol, right? Do I suffer negative consequences that are not relaxing at all? So it's only when we become aware of these liminal thoughts that we can question them and then start to move them out of the way. Lots of these things come up, and it's really individual to our own experience as to what those liminal thoughts are. There's a lot of them having to do with family. A lot of that family stuff has to do with food. And so, we build up, over time, we've built up these liminal thoughts around how food relates to family, or that certain food relates to family and celebrations, or there are certain things required of us, and we don't even realize that we're thinking that we're doing this because we think we have to. So it's really all about, again, awareness of what is happening in these moments, and is there some liminal thoughts? Do I think that my experience is based in reality, but really it's because I'm standing on this pyramid of belief? Sometimes you can pinpoint, where these liminal thoughts came from. And sometimes you won't. Sometimes there's going to be multiple sort of places that it came from, kind of a building of that pyramid. I don't think it's necessary to know where these thoughts came from. I think it's just necessary for us to get aware of them and then start questioning them if it's impacting, the change that you want to see. If it's keeping you stuck, if it is keeping you from getting out of your own way, then that's when you want to start really itemizing them, right? Like, alcohol relaxes me might be one. You might have another one about alcohol, like, well, I can only, I need to have a drink to enjoy certain situations. There's probably lots of them, right? And so to really be able to get out of your own way with regard to this improvement that you want to see in yourself, you gotta figure out each one. Like, what is it? What is that thinking that I have around it? And then question, is that really true? Like, this kind of underlying assumption, this liminal thought, is it really true? I hope that this idea of liminal thinking has helped you start to see where it might be a path to getting out of your own way.